My area, or the area where we deal, is in the area of public-private partnership. How we can get the private sector to bridge the infrastructure gap in real estate, which include housing, particular whichever area in that. And there are many issues responsible why we have that huge deficit in real estate infrastructure. As I was working discussing the issue of land. Land availability has been one of the, if not the most, critical concern in terms of real estate infrastructure. Like I used to tell my staff, if by divine intervention, they give any of you seated here today, you wake up, they say you have been allocated the land in Maitama Asokoro, I'm sure you will build it. Building it will not be the problem. Because if you can build a house in your village, you can build a house in Agogalada, you can also build a house in Asokoro. Because the cost of cement in our villages and in Agogalada is the same cost of cement in Asokoro and Maitama. But the difference is the value of the land. So land is a key issue when we talk about real estate infrastructure. So for us, it's a very big concern. So talking about all the issues surrounding land, ownership, dispute, because I'll talk about affordabilities. What I'm here to say is that we need to put in place modalities in terms of policy that makes land affordable, available to any investor. Land ownership is by community, but the law is clear. All the lands are owned by government, because any land can be used or can be taken for overriding public interest. So when we are talking about real estate infrastructure, we're majorly concentrating on the availability of land. So where we dwell, and I want us to see here, is that we can use PPP to bridge that gap in terms of land infrastructure. When I mean PPP, I don't want to go into lecturing you about PPP because that's not the theme here. But I'll break it down. It simply means, how do you make the real estate sector, in terms of the infrastructure, affordable, or let me say, attractable for private people to bring in their money? How do you have a mix wherein people want to invest or partner with government and make housing, real estate interesting or available? People will develop interest to afford it. So for us, what we do is to champion that cause, that government should devise the best method where, in terms of policy or guideline, where everybody seated here today can say, I have an idea. For me to establish it, I'm constrained with the challenge of housing. And I say here to you, what we do in the ICRC is to ensure that we bridge the gap. Government can come in and say, okay, as part of our contribution to this, we are making this land available to you. That would have reduced the cost of that infrastructure significantly. And those are the things that are lacking. A lot of us have ideas, a lot of us have money, but we cannot afford the land. So basically, land, for me, still remain the major problem we are facing in terms of developing the real estate infrastructure. The other thing we talk about is, okay, even if you have the land, where is the money to finance it? So that takes us to the issue of the mortgage system that we'll talk about. Because you cannot use commercial loan or short-term loan to do real estate. There is no way that is done in the world. Real estate is capital intensive. You can never plan to recover your money in the shortest possible time. So what we talked about is that when we solve the issue of land, we now go to the area of how do you have long-term financing in terms of mortgage, in terms of other instruments, to ensure that people can actually set up or build up their real estate. So that is where we come in. And we have been advocating that there must be a policy in place whereby our banks no longer look at short-term consideration when you approach them for financing. There should be genuine intention and strategy in place for the government and even the private sector themselves to support long-term financing in real estate. That is what I think we need to put in place. And I'm not saying this because we think it's new. Many countries in the world, I'll just mention 3 countries that have really done a lot of PPPs in terms of housing. It will shock you that one of the leading countries is the United States. Talk about Singapore. Talk about Brazil. Are the 3 leading countries that have utilized private sector funding in developing their real estate infrastructure. And that is where I think we need to look towards. Government cannot, on its own, provide the land and provide the financing for you. That is why the cross of my message is that we talk with government, let's have the right policy in place to provide the land. And the private sector must be ready to provide the long-term financing to ensure that these infrastructure are built, they are available, and they are affordable to the ordinary people to set up their businesses. So I won't bore you with much discussion because I told I only have 5 minutes. But I'm saying that the structures are being put in place to ensure that beyond all what have been said today, we mobilize private sector funding in developing the real estate infrastructure in Nigeria. And we are actually doing a lot in that sector. We are getting a lot of proposals wherein government assets, government lands that follow, that are out there. We are getting the private sector to come in and fund it and have a win-win situation for people. I know you are going to tell me about the affordability. Yes, affordability is an issue, but at the end of the day, we must face the reality. You cannot want to set up and say you want to have affordable housing in Asokoro or Maitama because of the value of the land. We can have affordable housing in areas that are not highbrow, where you don't have to compete with other interests. So in our states, in other locations, government is trying to do a lot, and they're opening up the environment to bring in land as its own equity into reducing the cost of housing in Nigeria. So I want to partner with NITCOM, I've told the DG, let's see area where we can collaborate. Most people in diaspora are really interested and they want to come back to Nigeria. If you ask most of them, when I travel abroad, what I hear them say is that, please, is there any land I can get so that I can come and I should have a property in Nigeria? But the challenge we have is that there are many fake lands out there. I tried this some time ago, I was duped. And guess what? Most of them will tell you they were duped by friends and family, not even by outsiders. Those things happen with more of it is trust. So if you cannot trust your family, cannot trust your friend, who do you trust? So I think we can put in place a mechanism where we can rebrand ourselves to our brothers and sisters out there. That we'll have a system in place when you are sure you have the money, you can approach the government, approach the right institutions, and you'll be able to own land in your country. For that, I am not wavering about that because there is no day I travel. If I meet 10 Nigerians, 6 to 7 of them will tell you, I want to have a house in Nigeria. I want to have a home in Nigeria. I want my children to come back to Nigeria, let them visit a home, my house, not to go and stay in the hotel. But the challenge is they don't trust the system. They've got their fingers burnt in the past. So we are looking at this policy and find a way to remove Nigeria from that bad, what I call it now, experience that our people have had over the years. So we work together with NITCOM. We work with the private sectors here present. They can collaborate with us in any way. We are opening the space for private sectors to come in and reduce the deficit that we have in real estate infrastructure in Nigeria.